As within, so without. White walls in a rectangular-shaped windowless dead end. Repetitious anesthesia propagated from perennial lockdown. Tedium. Atrocious bed, putrid food, a lonesome home in which to reside. Padded walls all around, but for safety or security, and security for whom? Pencil rhythmically scratching 24-weight white journal paper, as good as a music box in deafening silence. Today is Tuesday, or Thursday, definitely one of the tea days. Although given enough consideration, it could also be Sunday, 2 days removed from my favorite day, Tuesday, or possibly 2 days further, so it's Thursday. Too many twos to go through today. Today is either Sunday, Tuesday, or Thursday, yet it could also be the 8th day of the week, with us never the wiser. Of one thing I am certain. It has been 1,733 days, 6 hours, and 21 minutes of confinement, without a doubt. One day life could be special if I let it. The only obstacle in my way is me, per usual, though who else would be a worthy opponent? Dark shadows and gloomy visions block my tomorrow, so be it, but I will prevail. One half of me, either the light or the dark half, perhaps split into 2/4 of each, shall succeed, and I will immediately join the team of the victor. What other choice do I have? The loser will be dead. This is my reality. It may be different from yours, and very likely is, but don't let that distract you from the truth. Nothing is as it seems, and I am but a specter, as are you, and your friends, and their friends, and so on. We are all watching our biopic films play out in real time. I think mine is a horror movie. The space I occupy, or rather rent, is shared with others, though we don't confer much. Each of us spends an inordinate amount of time plotting an escape, for beyond these walls lies greener pastures and salvation. I'm sure of it, though this truth cannot be easily proven, maybe not at all. Should we escape by virtue of nostalgia, the prison cell may then be viewed as the greener grass. Each of us stands in a corner, facing it with intentions of liberation, back towards each other to ensure we all think alone as fractured entities of a supposed greater being. We could have been free months ago had we worked together. Take my word for it. It is tough being the only enlightened one. Every now and then, one of the others will drown the rest of us out, hammering at their corner with reckless abandon. Us other three, now lesser persons in the shadow of whomever so happens to be of prominence, cower under the weight of their dominance. It won't last long, nothing ever does. But as of now, the only recourse is to wait for this overachiever to tire out and allow another to take a turn. I feel as though I have not had a go in quite some time now, and the anticipation is causing me to grow uncharacteristically restless. They and I, the 4 of us in this room, have shockingly little in common aside from the communal cell we share. They make for dreadful company, and I certainly wish I could be alone, which may explain why I subconsciously allow them to chip away at their corners instead of taking extra time for my own. More than anything, they wish to be free, while I only yearn for solitude in whatever manner that occurs. 6 months have passed since we began this endeavor to escape. My corner is the deepest sunk, most ironically, as I have spent the least amount of time on it, yet have worked the hardest. Softer material, maybe? I spend more of my effort dreaming about what lies beyond this wall, and then beyond the next set of boundaries after that. My excavated corner provides a decent cave to hide within if I face the wall to drown out the room. Oh, the thoughts they think. I can hear them. Our cell has been outfitted with 4 more fresh prisoners, each stationed between 2 corners. They wasted no time in trying to catch up to our efforts, transforming the living area from an oblong square to a dilapidated octagon. Somehow, these new inmates have been even worse than the first, and I have chosen not to speak with them. Pity. If only we could all think alike. If only. Yet which of us 8 would be the right one? Inside my cave, I can hear the echoes of a life left behind, whisperings from a bygone era. The free life, the world outside, beckons me, yet I can't place the origin. 3 errant complainers have now turned to 7, and I can't drown out their thoughts for very long at all. I wish they would just sit still so I could think my way through, although my thoughts present a problem of their own. Befuddling and raucous, a river flowing rampantly, yet my best attempts equate to a small rock sitting helplessly in the center. 3 days have passed since I found the time to mine my corner wall. The others must be catching up to my progress, judging by how quiet they have been. Mental health is important. Thus, I allowed myself a break for rest, mostly taking time to meditate and gaze out my imaginary cave window in quiet contemplation. A dream can only begin with a thought, which may then become reality. I must make a reminder that once I am out of here, I should quote myself on that. Brilliant. I spoke too soon. What had been busy silence has become uproarious cacophony between the 7 entities, and for the life of me I cannot find a place to drown it out. One person wishes for strength, another for time, while the third asks for patience. Perhaps if I wasn't the only one wishing for seclusion, this would be an easier task to see through. Their pleas have made it impossible to do much of anything at all, let alone that which I should be doing. Envy, sorrow, and rage flood my mind, while the final whisper asks for nothing. Perfect contentment, the world that one lives in. The other 6 would all be furious if they knew. The day eventually came when their voices grew larger than my defenses could bear, and unfortunately the influence of such notions began to invade my every thought. I sat within my cave, digging diligently, if not entirely enthusiastically, and I grew envious over my neighbors' positions in relation to my own. Who cares if they were ahead, behind, or otherwise? They must be doing better than me. I was certain of it, and thus my progress ground to a halt. Slamming my tools against the adjacent wall in a rage, I stuck my head out of the crevice to take stock of the other's progression. Looking right first, I discover my nearest cellmate to be staring at me already. Peering to my left, that neighbor shows only the back of their head as they stare to their left at their neighbor, who is also looking left at another facing the same direction, continuing several people in a circle until the person 2 over from my right is glaring at the back of my neighbor. While I wasted my attention focusing on these 7 others, they were all watching me in return. I could have gotten far ahead of the competition, but instead, my focus was thrown into a bottomless pit of worry as they were distracted by the noise of progress. Speaking of which, I do not even recall how far I got, if at all. For shame. I could have accomplished so much had they not distracted me. In the thralls of going through it, the doldrums, I slump into the corner for several days and hope for a better mood to take hold before carrying onward. I had been in such a rush, so aggressively pursuing the finish line, that I forgot to breathe for a minute, if not just a moment, which consequently turned from 1 to thousands in an instant. No matter. Competition got the better of me and obscured my better judgment, but no more. Deep breaths and clarity for me from now on, nothing less ever again. This cave I have dug for myself, my shadow home, has grown to be ever more comfortable the longer I spend in it. The less I wish to be out of it, the greater it becomes. My strength has also returned, and I feel as though I could smash through the remaining stone in one final blow. If only I wanted to. Yeah, if only. 3 more glorious days pass in the blink of an eye when an itch begins to come over me. It is negligible at first, though present, yet growing rapidly with each descending thought. Just ignore it. My own worst advice yet, for it claws at me worse each time I breathe in harder to will it away. The scratching noise burrows its way through my admittedly weak defenses, which had been at ease for several days preceding this and enjoying the break. Now, though, as my tranquil mood tumbles into territories unknown in the blackened depths of naught, this sound is all I can hear, nothing else. Only nails on a chalkboard through my days and nights. Eventually, on day 4 of pacing, the abrasive nuisance grows loud enough for me to hear it clearly beyond the static. Their voices, all 7 of them, return in a monsoonish windstorm. Strength, envy, patience, sorrow, and rage swarm my system in an electrical surge, every impulse consumed by their alternating waves. What is it I want? Currently, for the voices to cease existing. My confidence peaks as I feel equipped to fight them off. Then, jealous of my neighbors for not being crushed under the weight of the same rock, I calm myself for long enough to reassess, only to then feel bitter sadness, as if the cycle will never end and I will be stuck with these voices forever. Frustration looms, sending me into a frenzy at my lack of control, riding the parabola of emotions with no brakes. Time passes slowly, but eventually crescendos into a blaze. The inferno washes over me, and nothing makes sense aside from the ringing in my ears. Hatred. Rage. I can't think clearly over this blinding caustic anger and the desire to be free from this cage, even if it would mean bashing my own head through the remaining concrete. Either the wall will split or I will, as long as I'm liberated. Just as I felt I could feel no more, at the edge of sanity where my clarity kisses berserk, the anger evaporates into a black hole within. Nothing. For a brief period of time between fury and the rebound of strength, I felt 0. No thought, nor emotion, only peace. Quiet contentment and happy to be taking space in this moment of existence. This is what I want. My desire in the rare lapse of external influence. I would do anything to seize the moment. If only I could bottle this emotion, or lack thereof, and bring new meaning to peace and quiet, whenever I wish. The sensation of excitement over feeling a lack of anything stimulates the senses enough to spark a bit of enthusiasm, kicking my motivation back into overdrive, and I feel strong enough to break through these walls again. So begins the cycle once more. It's them out there, their errant emotions seeping into my routine. I cannot stand such a lack of control, or maybe I will be able to soon, whenever they allow me to. The voices are too sharp, too overwhelming. I wish to return to nothingness, and before I know it, I do. Blissful existence. Never wanting anything more than to breathe in the air of this cave, because that is what is available in the space where I am present. Lovely latency, tranquil times, level head and clear thoughts, comforts which I am not accustomed to. The equivalency of a storm colliding with a sunny day, riding the high while feeling nothing at all. But the sensation rising within, whichever one it may be, is unwelcome. I do not want it. I reject this feeling. The arc of perception running the gamut once again, yet this time they bleed together like emotions blending into brand new colors. The feelings of despair, longing, and sheer horror rival the cavalcade of strength through sorrow, yet they all begin to pour through my fingers like rapidly melting ice. These emotions I had known before to be familiar yet vexing are now hanging from the end of an oily and frayed rope, slipping through my fingers faster than I can reconcile. Regret pours into nostalgia. These new feelings are worrisome. Will I be able to handle them? Or will they overtake me like an impending wave? Pull the strings tighter. Hold on with everything you've got. Through my focus on old friends, so to speak, one particular phase burrows its way through, trickling inward, unidentifiable by instinct, but immediately familiar nonetheless. Rage, my old friend. Yes. Unfiltered. Venomous rage forcing its way throughout my system like water bursting through a broken dam. I quickly lay down my guard. No reason to argue, for this is an unwinnable battle, as I have found in each skirmish before. I was defeated the instant manifestation began. I exit my cave with renegade intentions and stomp toward my leftmost neighbor, who is still not facing my direction. I bare my teeth and slaughter him with ease, something he never saw coming, though he is no doubt surprised nevertheless as my pickaxe is driven through his skull. I leave the disfigured entity in a crippled heap on the floor, no more recognizable to me than a pile of dust or discarded waste. Good riddance, nuisance and destroyer of concentration. Be gone with you, but not nearly soon enough. One voice from my head is silenced, yet it only amplifies the other 6 in return. Loudest in the back, that being the most merciless of the bunch, carrying over the top of the others who cower before it. The wolf in the henhouse, or perhaps more suitably, sinners standing before their angered God. None of them ever stood a chance. I do not believe I can take any more, none at all, even if only a moment longer would rid me of all my ails. What is there for one to do? Nothing brings relief, nothing except giving in to the voices, although only one rings true while the others shout over each other in a panic. That cadence in the back, though, I understand you perfectly fine, if not too well. My enclosed world looked a bit brighter when I rid it of just one screaming tone. Might not 2 feel better? Maybe 4, or even 6? I no longer have the inner strength to resist. The urge towards fortitude has dissipated like a departing echo. The next neighbor over must be annihilated so that I may be free. There is no other way. His head is turned, staring at the back of his neighbor's head next to him. For as much as I wish to harm this person, I also feel a sense of longing, if not jealousy entirely. How can he be so calm while I burn inside? His attention is occupied by only one thing, while war wages inside my head. It is unequivocally unfair. Off with his head, as he is savagely dismembered in the same fashion as our mutual neighbor before, leading me to feel instantly better, but also much more vengeful. A notable amount of pressure is relieved within, and the storm opens up to reveal a single ray of light, however far away as it may be. The fallen fellow prisoner lays on the grimy floor in chunks adorned with various pickaxe holes scattered throughout the scraps. I pick up the largest piece of head only to drop it with these twitching hands, watching it descend rapidly until it shatters like glass on the ground. It is glass, the entire body jaggedly fractured, which is inconsequentially to the benefit of one less voice vexing me. What a shame, this pile at my feet, so eager to escape our lockup in the same way I was, but fell short. I'm sorry for being better. Truly. For if you had been able, you would be standing over my fragments rather than it being this way. I wanted it more. I kick the debris away and circle onward. They all have to die, so their voices will go with them, their thoughts and wishes too. Each quieted voice opens the door for the others to grow in their stead. The pickaxe goes to work of its own will, shredding clockwise through the following 3 cellmates like I was born to be here and thrilled to do it. 3 remain, myself included, while the distractions have subsided beneath a whisper, yet still more than nothing, if only slightly. 1 tells me to wait it out, take my time and visualize a better plan of attack. It implores to lean into logic over emotion and wait for circumstances to evolve naturally as they were meant. The second voice domineers the other and demands action from us both. It insists we are complacent, nihilistic even, and should claw our way out in any manner necessary, unconditionally and without compromise. The contrast has forced a stalemate. Stop and go, fight or flight. Whenever one voice gains ground, the other comes through the rear and takes the lead. Which is right? Or rather, which is less incorrect? Dark and light. Submit to the impulse or resist the urge. Both remaining occupants now stand facing me in the center of the room, the one to my left with his left hand outstretched, and he to the right, holding out his right. Electrical frequency of emotional shifting leaves my feet feeling like cement blocks sinking to the bottom of a lake. And besides, I wouldn't know which side to choose even if I were able to move freely. Cold depths overtake me. Yet it is only the implied visual drawing confusion from a manufactured thought process. Needless to say, my mental welfare is in peril, at best. How does one choose a side when both are promising great things? I can remain in stasis for only so long, as it has been proven change follows action, not thoughts. Hot and cold intentions mix within to brew a twister of a mindset. It was easier when there were 7 voices bickering instead of just these 2. One synapse links to another and another to form a chain of action that twitches my muscles into motion beginning in my fingers. I grasp the pickaxe tightly and swing it wildly through the ear of the left member, yanking it out with force and rotating another full turn into the right cellmate's forehead. Their bodies dropping to the floor is not enough. Entirely and not nearly enough. Thus I continue to hack into each of them fairly until they return to dust like the rest. The voices that have plagued my mind for the better part of what feels like the past half-century have finally and at long last begun to descend down the well of obscurity. There is no more speaking, no more wishes, complaints, or aspirations to endure. No more disturbing thoughts planted in my head from someone else's desires. Only nothing. Sweet silence surrounding my ears inside and out greets me now, and the want for naught returns. The last person who felt perfect contentment was me the whole time. The real me. Clouded by 7 others hell-bent on ensuring I would not feel normal for as long as they could not. I lay in the center of the coated floor and feel it drop from beneath, floating along the surface of a river, although my body and the ceiling lay still. This is what satisfaction feels like. Wants and needs dissolved inside the human form, of which plenty lay scattered around me. Gratification, the sensation of enjoyment in the present, considering what happened in the past for me to have reached this state now, and what is coming to me in the future because of it. Having reached peak enjoyment on the smooth concrete, it eventually comes time to rise and continue loving every breath taken and each second passed without distraction or interference. I never wanted anything more than nothing, and after a great delay, it is finally mine with permanence. A brief whisper enters my ear that it may be wise to clean up the victim debris before it causes issue in my blank sanctum. It's not that I want to, and certainly not that I need to, yet their body parts crowding the room obscures the essence of what constitutes nothing, and I can't have that. Returning to my manufactured cave, I grab a shovel with intentions to scoop the piles of trash into a corner. The first downed inmate, that to my left, lays in a heap with only the head remaining on top, face down in soot. Perhaps the heads should be stored in a separate location from their deconstructed vessels beneath, which could only be mixed together. The heads, though, should be lined up to honor those whose sacrifice ensured my sanity. I grab the fleshy skull and lift it to my face so I may see it more clearly in such dim light. By all that is good and holy, I have not inspected myself in a mirror in quite some time, but the face is mine. Every detail as I remember, including the long hair which I have not bothered to trim in over a year. My hands tremble, the opposite of nothing, as trepidation makes a brief appearance to remind me of my mortality. Life is full of fear, even in here. And this is the perfect reminder to appreciate any time I am privileged enough to not feel. This is surely the occurrence of temporary psychosis, a fever dream following the adrenaline rush of finally silencing all doubt. I have been under extreme duress for far too long, it seems. Symptoms of an overly taxed system, I'm sure. Forget it. I walk to the next stack of bodily pieces and brush the head off first so I don't compromise my vision with what I think I just saw. Carefully sweeping the pile into the same corner, I take a deep breath and walk back toward the second head. Lifting it to my eyes, my arms instinctively throw it toward the center of the room with a twitch. Another face identical to my own. Yet I can't be sure without viewing it again. Why waste time? Keep moving forward, always, although maybe I will brush the dust and save the heads for last to enhance my efficiency. Sweeping the rest of the 5 piles into the designated corner and tossing the heads into the center with my eyes closed so as not to influence my own position, I finally complete the task and can return to doing nothing as designed. Who cares about those heads and how they hypothetically look? Not me. Not me. Fine. Just one look for reassurance. Then I will ruminate no more. A promise to myself even I am not sure I can keep. With my hand raised to my eyes and walking to the center of the room, I take a peek and begin to feel rather ill almost instantaneously. All 7 heads, all facing me now, all share my identical features without fail. They stare blankly and dumbly, like statuesque beings I never intended to create. The only difference between them would be their expressions, as one appears determined, while another looks concerned. I fall to my backside in shock, both hands covering my mouth for fear of a shriek escaping in this vacuum. 7 faces adorning 7 heads of my own facial fortitude. How can this be? The nothingness I so longed for now feels like crushing emptiness under this revelation. Everything I asked for over the course of years upon years finally comes to fruition at my own hand, and now I can't handle the pressure. Oh, what a difference mental outlook makes in perception. In this room, what only just previously felt like vindicating freedom between these walls has morphed into a tomb bereft of the strength to continue the mission of escape through my dugout cave. I will die here on this decrepit floor, the 8th face joining the fallen 7. the matter of my body melding into the others in a pile of fine powder. My brethren, apparently my fallen selves.